and gentlemen, Psalm 76 says, "In Judah is God known. His name is great in Israel. In Salem or Salem also is his tabernacle and his dwelling place in Zion. There break he the arrows of the bow, the shield, and the sword, and the battle." Pause. You know what's cool about reading scripture is sometimes you see things you would never see before. I remember Jesus saying, "Peace be still to the storm." You know, a lot of times we think that winning a battle or breaking weapons is all about violence. It's really the opposite. It's a state of mind where we can be at peace. And God gives us peace, and doing good gives you peace of mind. Even in the midst of people attacking you or saying negative things about you, doing good always gives you that peace of mind that you absolutely need. Because generally speaking, other people around you don't have that peace of mind if they're doing things which are wrong and evil and bad. And so when I think of breaking weapons of war and battle, I think about a spirit where a person is actually speaking or behaving in a peaceful manner. And that offsets all warlike, negative, evil tendencies around that person. You cannot be broken. So remember that. I try to share as broad a brush as I can, even though I'm a Christian and I believe in God. I want you guys to understand the principles, to understand the attributes, the virtues, and the qualities. And that is represented in Justice League. When we look at Justice League, the movie, we see people from many different backgrounds, having gone through many different situations, some even death. But they come together and they work together for the common good. As people would say, hope is the potential of each person to be a force for good. And so, as a result of that, they are peaceful. And you see the world come to a peace, a stillness. And the bands of war are broken. And the weapons of war are broken. Let's get into what we're going to talk about. Justice League. But we're going to talk about Justice League, and we're going to talk about a pattern in each of the trilogies. And we're even going to examine each of the trilogies, each of the movies in the trilogy right now. So, going to the first movie in the trilogy, Man of Steel, I have some questions for you guys. First of all, here we see the world engine. It's been crashed into by the C-7 bomber, and there's an explosion that happens before the C-7 bomber and the little ship that Kal-El came in with the Phantom Drive crashes with that ship, interacts with its Phantom Drive, and then the ship, as we can see here, it starts to suck into itself. It becomes like a black hole, and basically everyone is sucked into the Phantom Zone. You can see the ship collapsing in there. So my question to you guys is really simple. It is, what did Colonel Hardy, Dr. Hamilton, and Ferrero Earl, did they die on impact with that crash with the ship? We saw an explosion. So does that mean that they died? Remember, the Phantom Drives started to interface with one another. You could see the little blue as it was happening. So you see the blue go all the way through into the ship, even though there was an explosion on the outside. The question is, what exactly happens when you're around a Phantom Drive, and does that have some effect on Dr. Hamilton, Ferrero Earl, and Colonel Hardy as their plane impacts with the world engine? I don't know. So I want to hear your answer to that. And then here's another question I have. The entire Kryptonian crew was sucked into the Phantom Zone, as you can see right across here. But they have been free from the Phantom Zone before, right? When they were on Krypton, they went into the Phantom Zone, and you know, the machinery that was keeping them in the Phantom Zone, it was destroyed with Krypton, and so they came out of the Phantom Zone. They went another dimension. The question is, do you think that they will return from the Phantom Zone at some time again in the DCEU? That is the question I have for you guys. So it's two questions with Man of Steel. I have a ton more, but I just stuck with those two. Here are some other questions that I put up on Facebook, and I'm just sharing with you guys on YouTube. After watching a Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, I wanted to know where you think Doomsday's body is being held. because the body can't decay. It's a huge body, so it's got to be put somewhere. And I mean, I don't know if they can destroy the body either. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. I don't know. So where do you think Doomsday body is being kept? We know that when General Zod, he died, his body was kept somewhere. The next question is, do you think it's the American government? Do you think it's someone else? Do you think it's an affiliate of Lex Luthor? Who do you think has... Well, maybe it's the body. It's the government, because they had Zod's body. So we'll find out. The next question is, where do you think the Kryptonian spear is? Do you think Batman took back the Kryptonian spear? Do you think the government seized the Kryptonian spear? What do you think happened to the Kryptonian spear? And then finally, if Superman was to be reborn in Justice League, will someone bring back Doomsday at some point in time? There are multiple ways to bring back Doomsday. You heard Silas Stone talking to Cyborg about using the mother box to integrate it with the ship to boost it back up and turn back on the ship. That's one way. The second way could be just like how Superman was revived. The mother box could be used to revive Doomsday. So depending on who gets access to mother box technology, or somehow they revive the Kryptonian ship, or they have some Kryptonian technology, this could happen. And do remember, at the end of Justice League, Lex Luthor's talking about a new league of their own, which could be the Legion of Doom, or it could be the Injustice League. I don't know what name it'll actually be called, but the important point is Doomsday happens to be a member of the Legion of Doom in the comics. I'm just saying. Now, when you talk about Justice League, I've always wanted to know where Steppenwolf actually resided. Where did he come from when he was boom-tubed to Earth? We know the mother box boom-tubed him in, but the question is, where did he come from? So, where did Steppenwolf and his parademons boom-tube from? Some of you will say, well, Apocalypse. Nope, he couldn't be on Apocalypse because he was exiled. So no. Has Steppenwolf died? That's a good question. We see him boom-tubed. You can see it right here. He's boom-tubed up. He's going back to wherever he came from, obviously. I think that's what's happening. The mother box is teleporting him back to wherever he came from with the parademons. And by the way, the boom tubes are just sick, man. I like him. Kind of that beehive effect. It's really cool. And to where is he and the parademons being boom tubed? So wherever he came from, I think he's going right back there. So he was in exile. He's going back to exile. And the question is, did the parademons kill him? We didn't see the parademons kill him. We saw his helmet fall down in a very tacky way, which I didn't particularly like. But we saw his helmet fall down, but that doesn't mean he's dead, right? And Parademons feeding off of Steppenwolf. I mean, Steppenwolf could take bullets, guns. He took Zeus's lightning bolt. He's going to die from Parademons? I just don't think so. Where are the mother boxes being kept at the end of the movie? I would like to know that myself. I mean, where do you guys think they're being kept? Do you think they went back to the general tribes of the world? The Atlanteans, the Amazonians, got back the boxes, and the Earthlings, which would be Cyborg. Do you think that's what happened, or do you think Cyborg just collected all boxes and kept them? I mean, you wouldn't want the boxes all together, close together, right? I mean, and the other question I would have is, what's to prevent another invasion like that? I mean, if the mother boxes call someone from Apocalypse, they're going to come, right? Or wherever they come from. Where these mother boxes come from. They come from Apocalypse. So, and came with Steppenwolf. He was the owner of them. So, what's to stop them from calling back Steppenwolf or calling back someone else? What's going to stop them from happening? Of course, if the Earth is in good hands, it's not so dark and there's not so much fear, and the League is there, it probably won't call anyone. But still, it's interesting to think about, Which leads to the same question I had for Man of Steel. I mean, if they're going into the Phantom Zone and they can get back out of the Phantom Zone, what's to stop them from coming back to Earth and trying to dominate, have another invasion, get more support, more strength, and then come back to Earth? These are just questions I have. If Dr. Hamilton is not dead, he could be an enemy of Superman as well. It's just interesting. I mean, just imagine if Dr. Hamilton and Colonel Hardy are amongst the Kryptonians in the Phantom Zone. That would be a very interesting dynamic. I don't know if they'll live through it, but it's just an interesting dynamic because they were enemies of them. And then I have this question in Justice League, which I pretty much got an answer, but I just want to hear what you guys have to say. In Justice League, Blackclad Alpha, who was the terrorist leader, he looked through the window, saw someone who had him in their sights, basically in their sniper sights. They had him in their scope. And he tips his hat at that person to let him know, I see you. Now the question is, who do you think Black-clad Alpha is tipping his hat at? And I had A, Deathstroke, and I had B, Deadshot. All right, let me see what you guys' answers are. I already got an answer from Facebook, which makes a lot of sense. If your answer is neither of those guys, let me know in the comment section as well. All right, let me see what your responses are. I actually missed it. I didn't even know it, Okay, then we have Man of Steel, Justice League, and Batman v Superman. And I noticed that there were some visual images which were very similar to all three movies. So if you move across to the top here, these are the rows. We can compare the visual images in each row. If you notice, in Man of Steel, we had the tombstone of Jonathan Kent. In Justice League, in the beginning of the movie, we had the tombstone of Clark Kent, which you can't see that clearly, but that's okay. And then later on in the movie, in the unearthing scene, we come back to that tombstone. Now, you guys, I want to know, what's the connection between all three tombstones? If you see a connection between all three tombstones, that or the story behind all three tombstones, which you find similar, okay? And then my next question to you guys is, you have Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, where there was a face-off between Superman and Doomsday, and this is on the Heroes Park. And then when we look at the beginning of Justice League, we get almost a similar visual shot, just a little bit further away, Superman somewhere here, of Lois Lane looking at the head of Superman. It's kind of a face-off. It's not really a face-off, but it's very interesting. And then later on in the Justice League movie, we see a face-off between Superman and the League, and again, very similar angles, right? What do you think is the connection here in all of three of these face-offs? And then here we have Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, the Heroes Park, where we're introduced to it, and we have Wally there in the corner. He's strolling up to the statue of Superman. And then in Justice League, the Heroes Park scene, of course, Heroes Park is a bit damaged. We actually see broken statue of Superman and literal Superman standing in Heroes Park. So what do you think is the connection here between these two? And then finally, we have a shot in the beginning of Justice League of Heroes Park. Again, a different angle. I don't know if you can see this because it's so small. But you see, there's a formation of police cars there. And then we see Superman, when he's resurrected, he lands down in Heroes Park, and there's that same formation of police cars. I think I did this in another video. But anyway, what's the connection between all of these scenes? And maybe you might want to ask yourself, what's the continuity between this scene here and that scene there? They're kind of small, so you may, but I think you can still try and find out the connection. It shouldn't be so hard. All right, we talked about this. Did I? No, I didn't talk about this yet. So, a lot of people were saying Joss Whedon changed up the scene where Steppenwolf wasn't boom-tubed out the way how he was boom-tubed or whatever. But the truth be told, when we look at behind-the-scenes footage, we can see this is the Justice League, and they're staring at Steppenwolf as he's getting boom-tubed out. And you can see that there's a fan on Superman's head, which is why his hair is blowing back like that. You can see Batman behind him and Aquaman, and it matches up with Batman and Aquaman pairing off when they were watching Steppenwolf boom tube up. Superman was up in the air instead of down on the ground, and he was watching Steppenwolf's boom tube out. Wonder Woman with the sword drawn the way how she's drawn it there, she's also watching Steppenwolf boom tube out. You see Flash though in the background, he's not on the ground, and he's watching Steppenwolf boom tube out, and there's Cyborg also watching the same. So this is them watching Steppenwolf boom tube out, I assume, which is very interesting. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And then finally, I've got this nice little trend here I noticed that Zach did. He has so much detail in his stuff. This is the DCU trilogy, and we're talking about pillars of fire. That's the motif we see in all three of the movies of the trilogy. Particularly when we're looking at the end of Krypton, we see pillars of fire burst out of the ground. Okay, that's in Man of Steel, as you can see here. And then Batman v Superman, Doomsday, who basically is created to end all life. But he's really, Lex Luthor actually created him to end Superman's life. Nonetheless, he emits a fiery energy column out of his head as he looks up in the sky as he crashed down on Stryker's Island, and he boomed out this huge burst of fiery energy. Okay? And then in Batman v Superman, Bruce has this nightmare dream about the end of the world, and you see those fiery columns right there on either side. And that foreshadows Justice League, where Steppenwolf is seeking to comfort and end the world, and you see this fiery column here. In the first Great War, that's what it looked like. He came down with all his might to try and destroy the world. So it's very interesting that the history lesson matches up with Batman's nightmare, And then also we have all these fiery columns. What I've noticed is, or maybe I'll just throw it out as a question. What did you notice about every time you saw a fiery column in the DCEU trilogy? What did you notice? Did you notice something particularly, that it had a meaning behind it, that the fiery column indicated something? I mean, it's all inside of this picture here. If you can see it, it's kind of small, but if you can look at it really clear enough, you can see, you know, the all in caps word that I'm trying to highlight here, what the fiery columns really indicate. They're a metaphor for something. All right, so leave your comments in the comment section below. This is an interactive video. I had a great time on Facebook, you know, putting it up into different groups and stuff, and people responding. It's a lot of fun to watch people respond to these videos. It wasn't a video, it was a meme. But you guys leave your comments in the comment section below. I got so much more with Justice League coming up. Still want to buy either the DVD. I want to buy the DVD with the bonus features. I hope to get the 4K digital. So I still haven't gotten that. I got a ton more stuff to tell you about Justice League. Also, I want to also elaborate a little bit more on Star Wars as well as Black Panther. Aquaman's coming up. I also want to talk about a lot of other DCEU movies. Suicide Squad had a lot to do. Believe it or not, Suicide Squad has a lot of parallels between itself and Justice League. Justice League is an insane movie, man. It wraps up so many different elements from so many different of the DCEU films so far. And it's just it's taking me exorbitant amount of time to even try to explain to you guys how much stuff is in Justice League. I think Justice League may be the best DCEU film, even this imperfect version. In terms of content, it's pretty rich. So I'll go into that in a later video. But suffice it to say, I'm also looking forward to the Zack Snyder cut. I hope that we can get that Zack Snyder cut as soon as possible. Of course, I'm supporting the present cut, and I will keep a copy of the present cut. And I'm excited about the present cut. I can't wait to get my hands on the present cut either. So just to let you guys know, the next couple of videos will be on Justice League again. But do stay tuned. Soon, very, very soon, I will be also doing some videos on Star Wars The Last Jedi as well as Black Panther. Do understand you can always share these videos all over social media. Also, it would be nice if you could support my channel by donating to it. I can give you the details of how to donate my channel. I have to use Western Union or I have to use MoneyGram. So it's either MoneyGram or Western Union is where you can do so. All you have to do is private message me about that you want to donate, and I will simply give you the information. All right? On that note, you guys have a great